He's big, he's strong, and he has got it going on! Some beach somewhere in Paul McDonnell by 4. Top 25 to Canada's horse.
Where does Some Beach Somewhere rank among the greatest standardbreds to ever look through a bridle? How about with Niatros, Albatross, or Camfella? To begin with, it speaks volumes that he earned a berth in the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame a mere 9 months after he finished his exceptional racing career. Look at what he did during his 2 seasons on the track. 20 wins in 21 starts for earnings of $3.2 million, Horse of the Year honors in the US, a record for single season earnings of over $2.4 million, gaudy earnings of over $156,000 per start, 4 world records, including the fastest mile in the history of the sport, 146 and 4, and sub 150 miles in half of his 20 wins. The pride of Truro, Nova Scotia, established marks that may never be equaled. Bred in Ontario, the son of Mach 3 Where's the Beach was acquired for $40,000 by the Truro car salesman Brent McGrath and 5 partners at the Lexington Selected Yearling Sale. McGrath defied conventional wisdom by training the colt in Truro before sending him to Paul McDonnell. The two Macs meticulously planned every step of the Beach's once-in-a-lifetime career.
Some beach somewhere, and he's home in 149.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight for the online launch of Some Beach Somewhere, the harness racing legend from a one-horse stable by Marjorie Simmins, co-hosted by the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame and Nimbus Publishing. This is a VIP event in that all the books have just arrived from the printers, and the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame has the very first copies available now, and you'll be able to check details soon for ordering information. Before we start the program, I'd like to offer a land acknowledgement. Nimbus Publishing, based in Halifax, Nova Scotia, is located on sacred land that has been the site of human activity for over 12,000 years. We are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and we acknowledge them as the past, present, and future caretakers of this land. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is located in the city of Toronto, and acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. The city also acknowledges that Toronto is covered by the Treaty 13 signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Today, Tuesday, May 25th, would have been the Beach's 16th birthday. The horse of a lifetime, a world champion Hall of Famer, smashing records and setting a single season earning record as a 3-year-old. Many consider the Beach, who died unexpectedly in 2018, to be the greatest pacer and standardbred shire of all time. To speak to the historical impact of Some Beach Somewhere, please welcome Gerald Kaplan, President of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame and Senior Director of Information and Innovation for Standardbred Canada.
Thanks, Karen. Good evening, all. On behalf of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame, I want to take this opportunity to thank Nimbus Publishing and Marjorie Simmins for putting this event together and including the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame in this wonderful launch. We're so happy to be involved in the celebration of Hall of Famer Some Beach Somewhere. It's great to see Brent, Paul, Dave, and Clive here as well. I think we all wish life went back to normal and we can gather and celebrate on the racetrack, but for the moment, virtual events like this will have to do. For just a moment, I want to take you back to December 2nd, 2008. I was editor of Trot Magazine, a national publication, a horse racing publication at the time, and Some Beach Somewhere just finished his 3-year-old year on the racetrack. I'm sure tonight you'll hear many accolades about the great Some Beach Somewhere and what a year he had at ages 2 and 3. So I'll refrain from going into it, but suffice to say, as Canadians and as racing fans, we were overwhelmed by this special horse. I decided to, at the time, write an open letter to the Lou Marsh Committee in an effort to have Some Beach Somewhere named Canada's Athlete of the Year. It wasn't difficult to write, but I'll read you just the opening words of that letter. Dear distinguished members of the Lou Marsh Committee, in 2008, only one Canadian athlete set 3 world records, posted a 93% win percentage, and earned $2.5 million in competition. Only one Canadian athlete was considered by many international observers to have posted the most spectacular season ever accomplished in his respective field. Only one Canadian athlete forever changed the landscape of his sport, and that athlete is Some Beach Somewhere. We asked that Beach be considered for the Lou Marsh and opened up our website to comments. Within hours, we had thousands of supporters, literally. Within a day, the debate was taking place in the media, on Primetime Sports, Canada's largest syndicated radio show, in newspapers, television stations across the country. Can a horse be named Canada's Athlete of the Year? Each year, the Lou Marsh Award is decided at a table of sports journalists who are tasked with debating the merits of each candidate and determining a winner. Well, in 2018, there were 15 names up for Canada's Athlete of the Year, but only one of them was a horse. From what we understand, the first order of business was Beach. Should he or should he not be considered? It was something the committee had never before contemplated. After great debate, the discussions on both sides, a rule was struck. It was not unanimous, but a rule was struck that Canada's Athlete of the Year from that day forward, forever forward, can only be awarded to a human being. So while Wayne Gretzky, Silken Lawman, Donovan Bailey, Sidney Crosby may have Lou Marsh awards that Beach doesn't have, it's interesting to think back on that and realize that it took the committee ruling out 99.99% of all living things on Earth just to keep Beach out. We, of course, are extremely proud to have Beach as an inductee in the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame, as he was inducted in 2009 within months of his final race. Some Beach Somewhere is an extremely important part of the Canadian racing history, and his career as a stallion has forever changed the standardbred pacing breed across the globe. We were also honored to have inducted Paul McDonnell in 2020, another Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Famer, along with Dave Landry, who was inducted as a communicator in 2018. We have multiple Hall of Famers on this call. Once again, we're proud to be part of this tonight and thrilled to have these wonderful books available in the Hall's online store. As a registered Canadian charity, it's with gratitude that proceeds from all books sold through our website will help raise funds for the Hall. So we encourage you to go on the website and check us out. Anyway, thanks very much. Appreciate being here. It is a true honor. And now I'll pass it back to Karen.
Thank you, Gerald. That was great. We're going to start off the evening with a panel discussion, and we have 3 great guests tonight. Please welcome author Marjorie Simmins, who has brought us the first ever account of Some Beach Somewhere, a horse who has captivated us all with his speed, courage, and near flawless gait. Marjorie began her career as a freelance journalist in Vancouver with regular work published in the Vancouver Sun and in trade magazines. She has since published numerous essays and articles in magazines, newspapers, and anthologies, and won gold medals at both the National Magazine Awards and the Atlantic Journalism Awards. She is the author of Coastal Lives, Year of the Horse, and memoir, Conversations in Craft. She's also a lifetime equestrian, starting with a focus on English riding and latterly focusing on Western disciplines. And she joins us from Cape Breton. Welcome.
Hello, I'm delighted to be here this evening.
Also joining us from Truro, Nova Scotia is Brent McGrath. Sorry, Brent. Renowned co-owner and trainer of the Beach. Actively involved as an owner, trainer, and driver since 1975. Brent was also a general manager, race secretary, and announcer of the Truro Raceway from 1979 to 84. And now the general manager partner of several car dealerships in Nova Scotia. He continues to train 2 sons and a daughter sired by Some Beach Somewhere. Welcome, Brent.
Thank you, Karen.
And next we have Paul McDonnell, now a Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame 2020 inductee. Paul's driving career is highlighted by both consistency and superstars, with earnings surpassing $1 million in 33 consecutive years, due in part to piloting such horses as Hall of Fame honored members Some Beach Somewhere, Admirals Express, and In Vitro. And Paul was the Beach's only driver throughout his career. Welcome, Paul, and welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us online tonight. And while it's disappointing we can't all be together in person, I'm really pleased that we can get together in this format and we can talk online. But it's sure to be a great discussion about this remarkable horse. So I'd like to start the conversation with some questions. And I will just mention to everybody watching, if you have questions yourself, you can put them in the comment section. And if we have time at the end, we'll answer some of the more popular ones if they're not already addressed in the conversation. So Brent, I'd like to start with you. When you first saw Beach as a yearling at the Lexington yearling sale, what initially caught your eye about him?
Well, his presence. He was just a big, good-looking horse, and I was just looking in stalls, and he really stood out, and he met the criteria. He was Ontario sired. I knew I had to talk to Paul a little bit about Mach 3. The Beach was Mach 3's second crop, and I remember Paul had been driving a filly for maybe John Pentland at the time that was kind of a nice filly, and that intrigued me for sure. But just his overall presence, and he was an Ontario sired, and got him out and looked at him, and he was impressive, no question. Everything about him was impressive.
Great. Now, I'm not so much of a horse person. How did Somebeachsomewhere get his name?
I've heard a couple of stories on that. His mother's name is Where's the Beach, but I was under the understanding, or I thought I had heard somewhere that the song by Blake Shelton was playing on the radio when he was born. And I never ever did confirm that with Stephanie the breeder. But those were I know Where's the Beach is his mother, so I'm sure there was some influence there. And I don't know if the song is accurate or not, but it sounds good.
And then he acquired his nickname, The Beach, or just Beach, which I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Marjorie, we'll move on to you. So when did you first become aware that the fastest pacer in the world had actually come from Truro, Nova Scotia?
Hi, I'm delighted to be here again. Thank you for the question. I'd been aware of him for some years. Absolutely. If you lived in Nova Scotia, you simply were. And then, of course, when he passed, I have a lot of horse friends, and I have horse friends who are in the harness racing community. They are either drivers or own horses or own retired standardbreds and so on. So I had a developing interest already in the industry and the breed. And when I heard that he had passed away, something just kind of came over me, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is huge. This is so important. And then as my horse friends kept talking about it and mourning and feeling so sad, and then, sort of perking up again when they talked about his incredible career, and it just dawned on me, oh my gosh, this is the secretariat of the harness racing community. And so I felt very mournful, but also just sort of, shocked that he had been in our midst.
Great. Interesting. And what made you want to write a book about him?
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to say really that this is an honor to do this. I feel so honored to write a story about Beach and all the important people that were in his life. And I knew it was going to be a grand, grand adventure. It absolutely would be. It was going to put me into worlds that I wanted to be in, that I wanted to learn about, and to talk to people who I found fascinating and admired greatly. I knew this was just going to be the biggest adventure of book I'd ever done.
Great. Paul, I'm going to ask you. So again, I have not ever been in the position that you've been in. So I'm really curious to know what it's like from your perspective, driving a top level racehorse with all that power in front of you. So if you can maybe just talk about what it's like to be in that particular situation.
Well, horses of Beach's class, they really don't come along every day. So we have to drive quite a few, not bad horses, but not as good horses, I would say. But the fact remains that when Beach came along, he was special right from the get-go. He started his first start on a half-mile track. Actually, his qualifiers were at Truro on a half-mile track, and then he came to a Grand River. And when he first went on the track and he just whistled around there in a new track record, you knew you were sitting on something special. So it was quite an impressive feeling right from the get-go, as I said before.
And so I would just imagine just being from that perspective and being behind a horse with that power, it's just, and it must be over so fast too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I got to spend a lot of time with Beach, with Brent, of course. And, I did a bit of training with him as well. And every time he went to the track after, time and time again, he just got better and better and stronger and more power there. So it was just a thing that went on and on as he went on. So it was just a pleasure to be around him.
Great. Brent, what would you say made Beach the champion that he was? Is that something that you can put a point on?
Well, like Paul said, he was big and he was strong, and he had a great attitude, and he was blessed with a sweet gait. He worked very easy at it, and for a horse that died way before his time, he was extremely healthy when we were racing him. Knock on wood. I mean, he just had no issues at all, and that's hard. They're athletes, and it's whether it's a golfer or a ball player or a hockey player. They first of all, they have to have some talent, they have to have some luck, and they have to stay healthy. And horses are exactly the same way. And we did a lot of things to try to keep him healthy, but at the end of the day, he could do what we were asking him to do and stay healthy doing it. And he loved it. He loved his work. He wanted to be out there every day, and he had a terrific appetite, and he loved people. He loved life. All those things. It's the whole package. What made Wayne Gretzky who he was? It wasn't just that he could score goals. I mean, there was a competitive advantage there. There was a whole bunch of things that probably we'll never be able to name them all. And Beach was probably the same way. He's so consistent. When you go see him in the morning, he was always feeling good. His meals were always cleaned up. He was never in a bad mood. He just was so predictable, and which is extremely nice when you're racing a horse for big money, especially. And I mean, it was, it's great confidence knowing what Paul thought of him. It made me very comfortable just to keep doing my thing and keep him healthy and keep him out of trouble. That was really my job, was to keep him healthy and out of trouble all week. And it was Paul's job to keep him healthy and out of trouble for the 5 minutes that he was behind the starting gate with no pressure on him. That was a tough, that was our job. And Beach was very easy for both of us to manage it. Or he was for me, for sure. And Paul made his job look easy. I'm not sure it was as easy as he made it look. But it was a lot of fun. And there's a lot of things that made him who he was, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And when Marjorie contacted you to talk about a book on the beach, what were you thinking?
What was in it for me was my first question to Marjorie, I think. And of course, she explained that very well. Nothing. Other than to read a really good book. And it was exciting. It was exciting. Marjorie came well equipped to answer lots of questions, and she got lots of questions. And and Marjorie's late husband was a writer, and that was certainly exciting for us. I mean, she has a passion for writing, loves it, and horses, and she liked the story, and caught right on to the lingo and the chat, and if there was something she didn't fully understand, she asked the question. She wanted to be in the know, and she loves horses, and it was exciting. It was just a great experience right from the first day I met her at my office, at the dealership office, until now. It's been terrific.
Great. Good. I'm happy to hear that. Marjorie, what did you enjoy most about writing the book?
There, I'm unmuted. I've been laughing away here, but I certainly put a few questions to Brent. He made the offer at one point of saying, you can text me anytime, you can phone me anytime, and I'm available on email. And I went, oh, my God. Anyway, he lived through that one. I'm sorry, the question again, Karen?
What did you enjoy most about writing the book?
Yeah, everything is the short answer. The stories about Beach were wonderful because, I didn't have the opportunity to see the races. Or at least when I watched them online, I would sit there, actually, to tell you the truth, I will say this, they made me cry. I would be watching those races as though they were happening in that moment. And going, I knew it was going to happen. And I thought, that was a good lesson for me with the book. I thought, well, if I can do what the YouTube videos showing him race, if I can do that in the book, still make you go, what happened? What happened? Even though you know what happened, then that'll work well. But the other obvious factor in terms of enjoying the book was the people I got to meet. Just amazing. I could have interviewed so many more people, but I had to be, had to keep my list down to a manageable size. And we did get to travel, my husband and I, down to the Harrisburg auction, and absolutely loved it. I was interviewing everybody at sight because I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll need this or maybe I'll need that. I had a ball, really did.
That's great. Paul, I have another question because I want to bring you into it, and I'm really kind of fascinated by your perspective on things. And I don't know, can I ask you if you have any rituals or anything like that you do before a race, or maybe you can just talk about sort of like what your day is like. You can choose to answer what you want in that.
Well, my day right now is a lot of horse training right now, but at the time when I was driving beach, I was just strictly driving horses at night. So my job back then was just to get familiarized with every horse that I could get familiarized with. So it's getting to know horses' tendencies, and so reading through programs, maybe watching some replays of past races, getting used to the past performance lines, who's going to be favored in the race, who's not going to be favorite, who's potentially a horse that could get in your way, or all kinds of variables that happen during a race. So that's what I kind of do to prepare myself for racing at night.
Very good. Brent, back to you. What is the best part of being one of Beach's co-owners?
Well, I mean, the people that he's introduced me to, I mean, the notoriety, the excitement, the ride he took us on was unbelievable. And I mean, you'd have to say the financial side of it has been very lucrative as well. And that we all go to the sales every year and look for the beach. And we were happy enough to grab him, get the right halter at the sale, and he happened to be in that halter, and it was yeah. It just goes on and on and on. I mean, I could talk all night about what Beach has done for me and my family and our friends, and it's just everything. Everything was exciting. I have to say about one of the things about Paul that still stood out. It might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but I've been friends with Paul and a lot of drivers for a long time, like 50 years. So I have a pretty good idea of how they think and what they do and where their head is. And you have to realize that here we are at the end of May, and there's a bunch of 2-year-olds out there that all the trainers and the drivers and everybody are excited about and think that they have a beach or something like a beach, and to be disappointed, same as your kid playing hockey or any other sport. And and I head off to Toronto to Ontario with Beach as a 2-year-old. I'd qualified him a couple of times in Truro, 3 times in Truro, and he seemed very good. And of course, I'm excited to get Paul up behind him and get his opinion. He certainly knows a good horse a whole lot better than I did. He sat behind many of them. And when he come off the track with them the first time that he had driven him, trainers are always waiting for the driver to come in the first time they train their baby. What do we got here? What do we got? And I thought I had a nice horse before we came down, but I was ready for Paul to be toned down a little bit. Come down here a little. I want to talk to you. You're up in the clouds. And the first question that he asked me was, is he paid into the Metro? And the Metro is $1 million race. It's about a month away. Like, he couldn't have asked a better question. The Metro. He could have been saying, "You didn't pay this horse into the Metro, did you?" And that wasn't the question. And that was and a lot of horse people that are watching this right now will get that. Believe me, they'll get that. Especially when dealing with a driver of Paul's caliber that knows a thing or two about a good horse and how they're supposed to feel and act when you're prepping them for a race like the Metro. And I don't even remember what the question was.
No, I think we're beyond that. No, that was a great answer.
Anyway, I wanted to get it in there.
Yeah. Paul, do you have anything to add to that about, like, were you like, oh, this is really something, this is interesting?
Yeah, I was quite intrigued. I remember the exact training mile that Brent was referring to, and he was quite impressive that day. And so I wondered what he was eligible to later on in the season. And it was a great day. And then, of course, what came along with it afterwards. I mean, the Schooner stable, all the owners were just fantastic. And, the ride he took us on after that, even past his 2-year-old onto his 3-year-old year, was just phenomenal. So it was just a great experience to be a part of.
Great. So the last question I have for you, Brent, how important is Beach's legacy as a sire?
I mean, to me, it's huge. You know, that's all we have are the memories and his legacy, and you know, I think he's pretty well cemented his legacy as a sire. I mean, when you look at the statistics this year alone, and I'm quoting numbers that I'm not exact on, but the highest of all the foals, there's a horse out there with like 1,800 foals on the ground, and Beach has 1,000, and Beach has couple $1 million or $1 million more in earnings this year than the horse with 700, 800 more babies on the ground. You know, it's just incredible. When we're watching the stake races in Pennsylvania the last 2 weeks, I mean, they're pretty well winning. The most of them, they're certainly winning their share and more. And, you know, and he was 13 when he passed away. So, you know, he was 12 years old, 11, 12 years old when he sired the babies that are out there right now are the 3-year-olds. And, you know, and a lot of horses are kind of going down the other side at that time. And he certainly wasn't. He was as good in his last year. This year here, he's a game changer. And again, back to your question, it's very important to me that his life lives on exactly the way he couldn't have scripted it any better for us. I mean, as being proud of him and what he's accomplished, and everybody that's tried to do what we were lucky enough to grab the right horse and have it all work out and everything line up, and the stars and the sun and the moon all line up the same way. And like Paul said, how we did what we did with the owners that we had and the driver, and have really not an issue. It just is unheard of. To everything, in most businesses, everything is good until you start making money, and when you start making money, then things start going bad. That did not happen with Beach at all. In fact, the group got stronger and stuck together better and made good decisions. And all of our decisions, whether it was Paul making them on the bike or me making them training or the group making them for Beach's life, it was always putting him first. And that makes it very easy and very fun, a lot of fun. Take the pressure off, you know. We're just putting him first and let the chips fall where they may. And he stepped up. Paul did his job and Beach did his.
Excellent. Well, this has been great, guys. Thank you. So hopefully we will have some questions at the end that we can bring forward, but we're going to move on. So thank you, the three of you, for joining us. We are going to introduce Dave Landry. Just wait for Dave to come up. So Dave was inducted into the, hi Dave.
Hello.
Dave was inducted into the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame as a communicator in 2018, and his work has appeared on the cover of more than 500 magazines or publications. He's earned numerous awards for his equine photography, including the Sovereign's Award, an Eclipse Award, an award from the World Trotting Conference, a Horse Publications of America Award, and a George Smalls Reed Award from the United States Trotting Association. I hope I got that one right. Dave is going to share 2 of his favorite shots of the beach with us now. So over to you, Dave.
Okay, I'm going to share here, and hopefully that comes up. Oh, okay, I put my glasses on. There we go. Is it coming? And there we go.
There we go. There we go.
Okay, is that okay?
That looks great.
I was kind of late coming to realizing how great this horse was compared to a lot of people. You know, at the time, this was shot for a cover of Canadian Sportsman magazine, just following the NA Cup victory. And I remember that day, I loved it. Brent took the horse across the road and, you know, from the training center, Baycarin, and he was full of himself. He was so proud. I love the way Brent's looking up at him as well. I figured there was probably a big relief in hitting that plateau and winning the NA Cup. Even though I know they had every inch of this planned out, I'm sure that was a major one that probably gave them a little bit of relief. And the thing that's significant about this shot to me, I don't like, aside from, I love the color coordination on the halter and the shirt and that. I don't know if Rhonda did that or if Brent did that, but anyhow, I just loved how he was just so proud of himself that day. And that was the day that I realized how great he was, even though, you know, I was at the race when, you know, I saw him go 6-0 as a 2-year-old. And, you know, there's so many things that can go wrong with a racehorse. So no matter how good they are when they're 2, you know, to do what he did at 3 is just amazing to me. And that comes down to management in my mind as well. You've got to have that God-given ability. With Beach, fully had that. I mean, in spades, right? But the other thing is, I believe myself personally that this might have been one of the best managed harness horses of all time as well, in combination. And that's why they were able to do what they did. And I'm talking even about small details. Details are important. You know, they worked as a team, and even little things like Beach's. I remember that day, you know, going in the shed row and his punching ball in his stall, right? Kept him happy, right? Things like that, you know, Lily and Rhonda in the shed row. I think that Brent and Beach must have had this understanding that, you know, Beach, you run your eyeballs out for me if I manage you really well. And boy, they both did it. And that's why the horse has this record he has. And then even to do what he did as a stallion, just incredible. That's why I love this shot, the two of them together. And that's that shot. So we'll go on to the next one. Okay, clear that one. Oh. There we go. Okay, everybody got that one there? And this one I love. I guess looks like it's the cover. So this was an amazing day. For anybody who's watching who hasn't been in Lexington in late September, early October, there is no better place to be for harness racing. And, you know, this was the ultimate in my mind. I was very lucky to get this shot. The editor of Sportsman magazine, Dave Briggs, I asked him if I could, you know, maybe not go with the other photographers at the finish line and head up stretch and, you know, maybe get them in full flight, which is basically what happened coming around that turn. I mean, he was just smoking and, you know, it was a great day, lots of anticipation and, excitement, and he did not disappoint once again, and just, you know, blew everybody away that day. It was very exciting and a really powerful performance. And that's it. It was great to be able to follow him around a bit and take photographs. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Next, we're going to have Clive Cohen, and Clive has photographed world-class standard bred and quarter horse racing along with his team, with images appearing in newspapers, magazines, and websites across North America, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. And in 2013, 2014, 2016, 18, and 20, Clive won the O'Brien Award for Media Excellence, and in 2014 and 15, he won the George Smallreed Award for Photography. And he currently provides digital photography to Woodbine Entertainment Group for all standard bred racing. So over to you, Clive.
Oh, thank you. So my story with Beach is I'd been already at Woodbine for about 10 years when Beach came along. And I'd already shot horses like, Better Delight and Real Desire. So all, incredible horses, but something seemed different about Beach. And, I don't know if it was the crowds or if it was, just all the excitement that followed him. But for the first time ever, I actually followed a horse around, because usually I never leave, of course, Woodbine and Mohawk, or just Mohawk these days. So when Beach went to New Jersey, when Beach went to the Red Mile for the first time ever, and since, for that matter, I followed him and took shots there, and it was amazing. And it was, looking back on it, it was a great decision, because I wouldn't have wanted to miss those moments. And I think I only missed maybe 4 of his races in total, which I don't do ever. Like follow horses around because, all the horses that I shoot are important, but Beach just seemed to, stand above everyone at that moment. So a couple of shots here that I will show you this is probably, I think it's coming up slowly there. There we go. This is probably the most sold photo we still have to date. And people still request this shot, and they request it framed and unframed. They request small versions and large versions. And they almost always request also Paul to sign it, which we've done lots of times also. We walk it over to the paddock, get Paul to sign it, and he's always very happy and thrilled to sign it. And people put this up in their houses to this day. And this is Beach winning the Pepsi North America Cup, and I guess would have been 2008. Yeah. And you can see the crowd there is unreal. And I don't think we've had a crowd like that before that or since that. And it's still a moment I remember. And it's still, even back then, it seemed like such a big deal that we set up cameras in the infield and we had extra people show up. And we're glad we did. And another shot I will show is this one here, which is the week after Dave's shot, I guess it would be. Beach racing in front of the crowds at the Red Mile. And also, it just seemed appropriate that I would run down there and follow him there and shoot him because everything seemed so exciting. And it just seemed almost a given that he would win, but you just wanted to be there and be part of it and see it and make sure you had your own images. And I often have people coming to my office and pointing out, a spot in the photo, and they'll tell me that, that's me over there, or, I was over here. And a lot of people in the different crowd shots that I have with Beach in the background will proudly tell me that if you look, 3 rows up from the left, you'll see their face and you'll see that they were watching that race and that they were there for that big moment. So it was all quite amazing, and it hasn't been duplicated since.
Thanks, Clive. That's great. So now we've got some time to take questions from the virtual audience. If anyone has any, I don't see any in the chat right now, but if you do have one for Marjorie or anybody who has spoken, please speak up and we will answer them. We'll just give everybody a moment to type if they are. If not, then that's fine. All right. Well, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for coming. That's the end of our program, basically. Thank you to Marjorie Simmons and our panelists and photographers for sharing in the celebration of Some Beach Somewhere on what would have been his 16th birthday. And as mentioned in his Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame induction video, Some Beach Somewhere has left hoofprints across all of our hearts. Additionally, I would like to thank Angela Mumbarket, sorry Angela if I confuse that, the editor who worked on Some Beach Somewhere with Marjorie, Kate Watson, our Halifax publicist who is handling the production of tonight's event, and Linda Rainey, director of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame, who has partnered with the creation of this event tonight. And a final reminder that the book is available through the, where am I? Right here. Through the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame website now. And as mentioned, this is a VIP opportunity to get the book ahead of its public release, and you'll get a signed bookplate from Marjorie Simmons with your order. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all stay safe and have a lovely summer. Thank you. Good night.